A jobs day coming up on Friday. I think we get a Good Friday jobs report. We got some ADP jobs numbers today, and they're actually pretty good. Here's a trick. ADP is private payroll. They're the biggest private payroll provider. And we saw big uptick in jobs growth in the South, small businesses, retail sales are booming. So what's interesting is I'm tracking some of these tea leaves economically, because a lot of the concern is whether or not the economy is strong enough, because a lot of people who don't like Donald Trump see the economy and they see that it's bad, and no matter what, there's nothing Trump can do. There's no amount of growth or thriving or whatever rebate check they're going to get after tax season. It's not going to convince them. So the trick is not losing people in Trump's base. And if people in the South are getting jobs, small businesses are thriving, retail sales are booming, then that's a good thing. But we continue to track the AI coming jobs apocalypse. Is this a real thing? How will it affect people? And so the government job data has also missed by so much. And I think this is leaving people very confused, and that creates apprehension. But that's why I think some of the things like the gas prices is such a big deal for people, because that feels something that's pretty tangible. If gas prices are low, then it's a sign that things are, you're gonna have a little more money in your pocket. And if it's high, it shows it creates a level of mass insecurity. Trump did talk about this. I can't resist playing this clip. Let's play cut 12, please, guys.
On gas prices today, they hit $4.
We're $4, yeah, and we have a country that's not going to be throwing a nuclear weapon at us in 6 months.
But Americans are feeling the effects in the interim.
And they're also feeling a lot safer.
What is the plan to bring them back down?
All I have to do is leave Iran, and we'll be doing that very soon. And they'll become tumbling down. And stock prices were up today almost to a record because they know two things. Number one, we have a safe country. We had to take a little detour because we had a madman named Khomeini who sadly is no longer with us.
All right, so he's got to make that case, and I think he can do it. But it would have been nice if it was it was pre-pitched to us a little bit ahead of time. All right, other stuff I want to get to right now. I want to get some culture war things. I'm very struck by that clip of Jaden Ivey from the NBA, who was cut by the Chicago Bulls because he didn't like the NBA is proclaiming Pride Month, which was March Pride Month. I mean, there wasn't really a big Pride Month thing, or is that coming up? Like, is April Pride Month? I don't know. I lose track of this stuff. It's one of the beauties of working at Breitbart and now at Salem. I don't even have to know when Pride Month is. I know we get content from it when corporations embarrass themselves, but that's about it. Like, I don't keep up with it. It is very nice. I didn't have to call Caitlyn Jenner she, like, all this great stuff. There's benefits of working in a conservative environment where you don't have to do some of the corporate speak. But he vocalized that he did not support the indulgence of the proclamation of the LGBTQ plus stuff. So not just L's and G's, we're talking about T's, we're talking about the pluses, we're talking about the 3 spirits, we're talking about the 6 spirits. He's not into that stuff as a Christian person, and he's someone who is now being persecuted for it. And the NBA was very clear about this. This was not about injury, this was not about performance, this was about his values. This is a league that encourages people to speak out on all manner of things, from Black Lives Matter to gay and trans stuff. But if you're a Christian and you say, I'm not into anti-science, nonsense freak show that's overwhelmed our culture, then you find yourself out of a job. It feels like he should sue for this stuff. But we're also seeing some people in the NBA stand up and say that, hey, I actually am with Jaden Ivey. He spoke again. I want to play this clip. This is cut 4, please, guys.
And y'all think I'm losing my mind. That's why the people around me think I'm losing my mind. But I have peace. I have joy. I have the fruits of the Spirit. I don't have to search for those things no more. Jesus Christ saved me. And he can do the same for those who repent and believe in the gospel. You don't have to be stuck no longer. Stop letting the devil do it. Stop giving the devil power. He has no power over Jesus. He has no power over Jesus Christ, the one who created the world, the one who created this tree that's right above me. He has no power. Jesus has all the power.
It's incredibly powerful, particularly during Holy Week. And it's interesting how this is how a lot of athletes think. I was thinking of one of my favorite quotes that I have seen from a sports star in recent years. It was an interview with Scotty Scheffler, who's the #1 golfer in the world. He's on the best run of any golfer since Tiger. He's a little off this year, hasn't done a perfect year, but is by far the #1 golfer on earth, and is honestly going to position himself as one of the top golfers who's ever played. and deeply Christian person, doesn't have a big social media presence, seems to be a family man, has a wife who he's been with forever, is now on his second kid, even though he's in his 20s. Just a very upstanding Christian person. And he was asked about some stress on the golf course and how he deals with it. And he talked about how his life was redeemed by Jesus on the cross, so nothing really stresses him out. And I'll get the exact quote. We'll play this at a later date because we have Masters Week coming up next week. I'll probably do a little bit of golf content. Just a dusting. I only got an hour on the show, so I can't do too much. But always exciting week for me, beginning of spring. So his suggestion is that I'm all good with the sports stuff because I'm here to serve Jesus. That's why I'm here. And so since I know that I've been forgiven, that I have God's love, then I can now be at peace in the world. And that's such a resonant message always, particularly during Holy Week. And the fact that that was grounds for getting fired by the NBA is a very sick thing. It's a very sick league that they're like that. And what's interesting to note is who's going to stand up, who's going to now have their voice be heard. And this is where, if there is anyone in the audience where this is relevant, it is now time to start speaking up. We're starting to see this. A guy named Karis LeVert, who is on the Pistons, he said, "I hate to see someone punished for their beliefs. What happened to free speech in this country? I fully support and agree with what Jaden has said over the past few days. I can't sit and watch him be silenced. If that's an issue, then cut me." Very powerful. Another clip that's going around is a guy named Daniel Gifford, who's on the Mavericks, who wore a shirt that had Christian themes on it, but then he was kind of reluctant to comment on it. Really fascinating. Play cut 11 for me, guys.
I mean, it's a Fashion Nova shirt, so I didn't really even see what it had said until you just said something about it. But I mean, faith isn't for the weak because God gives his test to his strongest soldiers, most definitely. And, I really can't kind of go deep into that, with the stuff that's kind of going on with, the Ivy situation. I don't want to, get away with anything, so we're going to keep it at that point.
So he's reluctant to comment on the Jaden Ivey situation, even though he's wearing a shirt that says faith isn't for the weak. Now, I'm not criticizing him, Daniel Gafford, of the Dallas Mavericks. But what I am criticizing is the NBA. If the NBA is making it feel like all these guys who are rich and powerful and famous and have huge followings, if they can't speak the gospel of Jesus Christ, if that's what they believe, then that is a oppressive institution. That is not freedom of speech. That is not freedom of press in this country. And I think the sports world really does rely on people of faith, people who believe in meritocracy, people who I think are deeply rooted American values. And in those American values is in God we trust. And it's not in Adam Silver we trust. Is he the NBA commissioner? These guys are completely woke, and they have been forever. And to oppress the players like this, it's time to start speaking up and saying things. And you can do so in a very positive way. You need to put the burden of proof on them. They need to be able to explain themselves. And I don't think they can. I honestly don't think there's a good explanation for the things that they're commanding of these players. They're demanding that they be silent and not speak their faith. In a moment where you can do all sorts of the criminality associated with that league, all sorts of the bad attitudes. All right. I had another thought on sports. I've been thinking a lot about sports. It's a big sports ball time of year. And I was very compelled that there's something happening that I'm curious your thoughts on this as a conservative audience. I want to get people's takes on the new ABS rules in Major League Baseball. This is actually something that's really interesting to me. What's really interesting to me is that what we're seeing in Major League Baseball is now the robots, the AI robots have now come in, and they are now the umpires in Major League Baseball. And I'm curious your thoughts on this because I, as a conservative person, as someone who wants to conserve American values, including America's pastime, baseball, which was my entire life growing up, I like the idea of a human element being in the refereeing, the umpiring of the games, because I think that's part of it. I think it teaches you about life. People who call balls and strikes, so to speak, in life are not fair. They're not unbiased. And so now we're importing the robots. And I find that to be slightly off-putting. I think part of the game is making those adjustments and understanding that there is an element of, let's call it luck, let's call it circumstance, and how you deal with that, deal with imperfections, I think is a part of baseball that I've always loved and resonates with me. But then you see stuff like this play that was, I think this was yesterday. This was yesterday night, the Milwaukee Brewers game. I want to play cut 16 for you guys. Check this out.
So the call from C.B. Buckner is that Jake Bauers missed first base. and then was tagged out. Not that he made a move to second base and was tagged out, that he flat out missed the bag. And I think that is the horrendous call. Where is C.B. Buckner looking?
He's not even looking.
Those of you who can't see the visuals, I always recommend subscribe to the show on podcast, YouTube, Rumble, watch on the Salem News Channel at night where it airs at 9 p.m. Eastern. But the runner steps right in the middle of the first base bag. Like right in the middle. Is not even close. Good. These guys are rolling it again. Because he steps right in the middle and the umpire just says he didn't step on the base and calls him out. And then, the robot makes the call that he's safe. And that makes me think, well, maybe it is time to start incorporating the robots in our life. But you can email me, aloha@alexmarlow.com. Are you happy with the new robots in baseball, or would you prefer no robots in baseball? All right. I will tell you that there's some other culture war stuff that is on my mind right now. And the latest is a shocking report that came from, these was the Daily Mail, of Kristi Noem's husband is living a double life as a crossdresser. And this is just the most bizarre photos. Daily Mail Plus had a photo of him allegedly he does a fetish where he dresses like a woman, where he implants fake breasts into his shirt. And this is Kristi Noem's husband. So you start understanding stuff, and we're not going to put this up on the screen. I don't want to get in trouble with the powers that be. But he set these breasts, and it's just very odd. Just the nipples are pointing in all sorts of different directions that don't make any sense. It's the most bizarre photos you've ever seen in your entire life. But this is apparently what Kristi Noem was dealing with in her home life. And now I don't condone her appointing her boyfriend, Corey Lewandowski, alleged boyfriend, who she's allegedly having an affair with, to be in charge of all of her contracts. And I don't condone her giving those contracts to newly formed businesses that are owned by the spouses of her staff, the way she's done it in the past, allegedly, according to all these fresh reports. And I do support President Trump moving on and putting Mark Wayne Mullen in her job. But overall, if your husband is cross-dressing with giant breasts with very bizarre nipple placement, and that's what he's doing in his spare time, then you have a very odd life, and I have a lot of sympathy for you. I lost some of the sympathy after she executed her dog and then bragged about it in a book. That makes me lose some of the sympathy. But I will say overall, that is definitely one where this adds a new wrinkle to Kristi Noem's life. And just know, you never know exactly what people are going through. You really do. You never know what people are going through in their life.